Hi, it's Sonia. Welcome back to my art YouTube channel. Today, this is just a brief introduction to the following video. It's going to be a review of this set of 12 watercolour pans that I was gifted from Paul Rubens. So thank you very much. I was quite keen because this is a nice size to put in my bag and maybe take out with me in the future. But in the following video, you will see me test them out, swatch them, and I do 3 pieces with them. I think 2 I show the processes of, and this one I just wanted to try them out in different ways. So, you know, for me it's obviously quite delicate and light, sort of very light watercolours. This one I was really pleased with actually. I kind of like some of the effects I got. So this is all dry now. And then also I had to go in a mixed media sort of looser fashion. And I will also experiment probably with abstracts. But more so I think these will come out with me, I hope, for some urban sketching. Yeah, and I have to say, I don't know too much technically about them, but I did quickly just look up now. So of the time when this video goes out, they're about, I think, $29, or nearly $30 on Amazon. I will have some coupon codes, I hope, to include in my description. But yeah, and I've got to be honest, I actually thought they were a nice little set of watercolour, and they worked well for me. So on to the video. Okay, so this is the Paul Rubens travel watercolour set that I've been sent. It says it's 5th generation artist level solid watercolour pigments, and yeah, it comes in this little box. I have taken it, did have plastic wrapping on it, which I sort of took off, so it comes wrapped up with this. There's a little leaflet, and I guess you could use this for your own swatching, but I'm probably just going to swatch it in a different in my book that I'm trying to swatch things in now. Anyway, they come individually wrapped, so I'm going to unwrap it all, get it set up, swatch them, and then make some art with them. That's the plan. Okay, so I've written out the colours, and I'm now going to take them out of the they're just in paper casings, which I think is quite cool. So there's not any extra plastic, which I quite like personally. So let's have a go at, just grab the brush we use. It's like one of my normal watercolour brushes. It's a Winsor & Newton Cotman one. Okay. Do you know what? Let's just hope that water isn't. Okay, so this should be the lemon yellow. Okay, so this is very pigmented, which personally I like. Okay, this one is cadmium yellow light. Also of note, I haven't, prior to this, sometimes if I do reviews, I will like check on YouTube other people's reviews so I know what the product is. But I thought, let's go in blind, as it were. So I don't know much about these particular brand of watercolours. I just want to test them out. This is cadmium red light. Whoa, that's nice and bright. And also, as I think if you followed my videos, I'm not a traditional, by any means, a traditional watercolourist. I use watercolour, and I've, you know, read books on it. I think I even went to some watercolour classes, evening classes, back when I lived in London. But I tend to use watercolours now in sketchbooks, in mixed media pieces, and I definitely was, you know, happy to try out this set because I will try and show it. I need to find it, but I've got a little travel set. I'm sure we have two, but I've misplaced one, of Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolours that I've had for years, and it always comes away with me. So I was like, actually, let's try a different, a nice, I'd be quite happy to try a small set of watercolours as well that I can use, take out and about with me. And I will, well, I'm not going to show, I had thought about that. I was like, oh, shall I make a video when I'm out and about with these? For this initial review video, no, because I think I'm much more going to test them out much more and be able to give my honest response here in the studio, in my own environment. So that's French blue. Okay, so this should be, it's a nice blue. It's called Oriental Green, but I think that's like a Viridian. So these feel quite, in some ways, comparable to my other watercolour sets and matching colours. I think this is also a nice set for out and about, because the colours are sort of the ones I'd need for, I do quite a lot of landscapes if I'm sort of urban sketching. So there's some colours here that obviously will mix nicely for landscape work. And to be honest with those, I could probably also do portraits. The other thing I used to do actually quite a lot of watercolour portraits, sometimes with pen as well. Okay, I also know this is like it's thin paper. This is not watercolour paper, but I just wanted to try out these colours and just get a sense of them. And also because I think a lot of you are probably like me, you might be into mixed media. You might also not always want to use watercolour paper because it is more expensive, it is thicker, even, you know, the student grade. So sometimes it is, you know, you do want to use watercolour in journals. And I would say that these seem, in some ways, I will have to dig out, you know what, I will dig out my, let me just quickly, you know what, I can dig out, I've got a Cotman set of watercolours, let me just quickly get them. Okay, so I haven't got my, let's move my, I can't, in here, I haven't got the, oh gosh, I can't open the thing now. My travel set, but this is obviously quite a large, I can't remember how many pounds there are, but a Cotman watercolour set that I've used a lot, or I use it, yeah, I kind of use it a lot for, yeah, when I was doing portraits. But I wanted to get it out because I think I can probably, it's not in any order, but just to have a look. To get a sense, if I try and choose comparable colours, this is kind of for myself, but hopefully it'll be helpful to you too, to see. And look, this one's a little bit dirty, so that's on me. Because I just have this feeling, and I just want to, yeah, I feel that these are somehow a little bit like the Japanese gouache, not Japanese gouache, Japanese watercolours, the sort of Gansai ones in some ways. These are a little, there's a slight difference. I don't, purists might have something to say about this. Personally, I'm going to test them on watercolour paper in a minute. But yeah, I feel like, I don't think I need to do any more. There's definitely a bit of a difference. I think this is where I do have to be, I want to be transparent and careful, because materials are very individual, and you know, some people may not like this set, some people may prefer sort of Winsor & Newton, other people may love this and not like. So I think it's good to but hopefully you can sort of see on this page. See, I wouldn't know which one's the, let me just try, I want to try one more. Is this the, I'm not sure I've chosen the right one, but I just feel, they are, let's, I think the thing now is let us grab, so I've got watercolour paper. So I thought I would do a, you know what, the light's coming in weird, isn't it? Let me just sort this out. Okay, I did make another, I tried to do a demonstration, but the light came in, the light keeps changing. So hopefully I'm gonna have to work quickly, and I'm gonna try and just do a landscape on watercolour paper. This is the Canson 300 GSM watercolour paper. And let's see, let's hope the vines, we've got good light here. I'm gonna use a photo as a reference. I've deliberately chosen, is from a hike, and it's a pretty plain, sort of a blandish, I guess, one to work from, but that will just allow me, it'll be quicker and I can just experiment. So I was having a go, just mixing some colours from more of a portrait, which I will show at the end, but now I'm going to have a go at seeing how these paints will work for sort of more landscape work. There isn't, I think I want a bigger brush for landscape. Just grab. So obviously you can sometimes start off with a bit of wetting the paper. I'm going to have a go with no sketch. Let me just see what happens when I try and... This is going to be a really loose one because I just want to try and have a look at how these watercolours work. And I'm not trying to copy this, as I say. It's just a bit of a reference to give me something to... And for people who are interested in, because I think this will be used probably when I'm out and about for landscapes. So to see how if I can mix good. That olive green obviously is going to get used a lot. Put a load of wet the paper so I can try out the whole wet into wet. But sort of keep that crisp sort of bushes. I kind of like to exaggerate sort of brighter colours as well, otherwise it's just going to be... I'm trying to, let's just try and do the realistic colours first. Or more sort of, see what they sort of... There's the brown, somber. Okay, so the paper is very wet, so we get to see the wet into wet. Haven't made that too wet. some, oh, clouds. So I don't, to be honest with you, I hardly ever just do a watercolour like this. Often I'll do a sketch, but I thought this is a way of just showing the pure at the moment, just having a look at what it's like if I were just to grab them and I guess approach it in a more sort of water-based sort of way. So we've got a lot of the blooms here, which I kind of like because I obviously did wet the paper. So what I could do is obviously, I haven't got a hairdryer here, but you could dry it and then layer on top. But or I can just go with the fact, if I was out and about, I would just have to get on with it, even if I'd wet the paper. So there are bits actually where it's kind of like drying out a bit. It's quite fun using the properties. I haven't really, I do quite like, do I want to, why I like landscapes, like from This Isn't a Great Photo, that aren't particularly easy to identify, is because then you can sort of add your own sort of atmosphere and spin to them. And then you're not too sort of overwhelmed by a really recognisable, you know, like a famous scene, say. You can more play about with atmosphere, and then actually, see, this is the thing, I find it very hard to stick and just do traditional, or like try and just copy things straight. Now I kind of want to like add more to it. I even want to add a little bit of, yeah, I knew I was never going to be able to stick to a purple. I like that purple. Just want to make it more abstracted, but sort of more of my own atmosphere. And also don't want to go too crazy because I want to leave, my tendency is the problem I always have in the past with watercolour is I'll overdo, if I, with a simple watercolour like this, I think there's almost, I think it would serve me well to stop this as a little demo, because I still want a bit of that yellow in here. Often in the past I've gone too far and then I've had to get my gouache out and cover up area. It becomes a gouache drawing or painting. It doesn't stay purely watercolour. So this is an experiment to see the properties, if you did want one of those sort of more translucent, really sort of watery, you know, to get the effects. And I could probably add a bit more to this, but I think it just needs to dry off if I'm going to, because otherwise it's going to get too messy. So that'd be fun one for me to play on. But yeah, as a watercolours, it's on the paper, it seems good. So that's my little, and yeah, the light's starting to change. Okay, so I've also gone on and had a quick go at doing like a portrait from a master in this book. I did an earlier one and it didn't work out, but this one I kind of like, and I've kept it again very light. There's a light pencil sketch underneath, and then I really just wanted to play with, yeah, doing a watercolour again and keeping it very, what's the word, soft, I guess, a bit more delicate for me. And yes, I'm happy with that. Now on to, let us go on to, okay, I've found it. This is my mixed media sort of anything goes journal in the studio. And basically I'm just playing around in it, doing some landscapes. I think I've shown this before. This is like Japanese watercolours from masters, going very loose. That page needs to be done. Like gouache. So this is mixed media paper. It's not watercolour paper, but I want to just see. I thought, let's sketch out some flowers. I've drawn these flowers before because I kind of like the purple. I really want to use that purple colour, and I want to have a go at going in quite. So the two watercolours I've just done, this one isn't finished. I think this needs a bit more work. This is too faint for me, so this might become mixed media. But I do like that portrait, so I'm going to keep that one and just stick it in a sketchbook. But this one I'm going to have a go and see. Let's go a little bit thick with these, because often actually if I'm out and about in sketchbooks, I want to see. And the fun thing is, there's no pressure with this sort of very loose playing about with the colour, because as you may have seen before, I often paint over sketchbook pages. I add a lot more, you can collage over the top. This is just, let's go really treat them a bit like more like, I guess, Japanese watercolour. I'm just going to experiment on this page. Let's see what happens if I'm mixing. You wait to see the full effect of this, it's all dried, so. Kind of making this flower up. Now I could experiment. Let's put a bit of water down first. I had this idea of playing around with this saturation, the amount of colour on my brush. Okay, and then I want to have a go in now with my smaller brush, and I will play about with some mixed media on top of this. In general, in mixed media work, the water, I tend to, if I'm going to use watercolours, it will either go on burst, but I also would, which we can have a go with actually, I need to find a wax crayon. I do like wax resist, so where I might be quite fun, I could have done actually and I didn't do it, would to be try these out with the wax resist. But I really wanted to have a go with using them, can't remember, that's black isn't it? A little bit thicker than I was previously, because I was going in very watery and diluted. I just wanted to see. Now this mixed media paper may not be the best as well. I think the watercolour paper was good. I do think these watercolours would also be fine for like journaling in a way, because they seem to be fine when I was swatching them out if you just use them pretty thickly. So I'm doing these flowers really loosely because I just want to play around with so you can have fun with the sort of wet, kind of like that. Let's go really. It's really hard to control, so you're going to get some really accidental effects like that. Okay. So I need a wax. These are Neo Colour 2 that I want to experiment with. But where are my wax crayons? I know I've got one. Okay, got one of these sort of kids twistable. So this is a wax Crayola crayon. Do a very sort of naive, bold. And it's gonna you can see you could also play about with wax resist if you want to go on top. And then let's play about now with, okay, this is a Neo Colour 2. This is just for my own experimentation, so I can't say I planned this. So this is water soluble. I don't know what happens if let's get some of the so you can always mix lots of different media together in a fun way. Now another thing that I like to do with gouache, so I can show you another idea of what will happen if we use some gouache on here. But in terms of picking out, if I wanted to emphasize, I don't know, petals or flowers, or make this a little bit more, you could then go in, draw the pencil, kind of quite good for pansies. Like so. So you're sort of more bringing out details. I'm keeping it kind of, I want to keep it very, a little bit rigid. This is completely made up, so I'm just going to keep it quite quick, spontaneous. Sometimes you want to keep the speed, or I get too tight. If I want to make this more of a, I don't know, it's kind of a pretty illustrative. It's a bit tricky because this one's quite, so what I might do here is this is a one of those sort of, is it Sue colour? It's not quite dry yet, but obviously you could let the paint dry and then experiment with coloured pencils on top. Now, something I like to do in mixed media is, if I feel it's all a little bit delicate, I like to then play around with gouache and acrylic wash on top. So I'm going to take a couple of gouache paints. As you can see, I'm running out of space. I haven't got a palette here. I'm just going to put it on. It's a sketchbook. Often I sometimes do this now. You can just mix the paints on the sketchbook. Okay, I don't want to use my good brush for that paint. I'm terrible. And I will use these paints up afterwards as well. I can so now you can have like a bit of a fun. I mean, the fun with mixed media is just grabbing what you've got, and you know, if you're finding something's a little bit boring, or you want to loosen it up, because you can always have a go. Sometimes I like to. You're trying to do maybe a bit more of a traditional watercolour, but you know, you're learning. It hasn't gone your way. So let's just try watering that. You can. I have to be a bit careful with water because that's my acrylic gouache water. I should have put it in. You know, you can have like practice. If you are practicing specific techniques, doesn't go well, keep the work and then just use it as a good excuse to do a bit of fun. Oh, that's the wrong paint. Acrylic art gentling. What was I going to do now? Oh, I wanted to use the white gouache. So as you can see, white work very well. Now this is still really wet. Add a bit more detail to the green. Make those into leaves maybe. Just play about with, it's more experimenting with how these things will work on top of each other. Now, sometimes it's quite nice as well to have sort of the contrast of, where it is, I need my, not great. Wow, brush. I think this one's nearly finished. Had a nice, you could, if you want a nice straight line, masking tape also works well, which is what I generally do. But as I'm just quickly wanting to sort of contrast all these different materials. Okay, so this is how, I think this is fairly though indicative. So I could carry this on and make it into a, how I would look at using, yeah, watercolours as well within mixed media. I do like to go in first, and then, you know, if it's not working out in a sort of a very watercolory way for whatever reason, then you've got options with what you can layer on top of it to, as it were, jazz it up a bit. Okay, I hope this video is helpful, and as I say, I will be taking these. More for me, a nice size as a travel set, so I will definitely report back on how I'm finding them out and about. The other thing I would probably do, and not traditional watercolourists may not, is I'd probably take some whitewash with me as well, because I like to do that. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope this has maybe been helpful for anyone who's interested in watercolours and smaller sets and even mixed media work. Okay, bye.